going to get pulled in.
Juicy.
That's pretty smooth.
Welcome to the Forged in Wyo Podcast. My name is Forge Master Ben, and with me is Chancellor Perry and Dr. Mike Alzheimer. Chancellor, what are we talking about today?
Today the topic is a very one that's near and dear to my heart, and that is iron sharpens iron. But first, before we get into that, we niff.
Give me my nip.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a niff. Ready, boys?
Shake, shake. Pank, pank.
Get it all.
Get it in there.
This one's dead again.
Give me yours, Perry.
Oh my
Weak
gosh.
sauce. You want this one too, Ben?
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah, sure.
This one's dead?
Yeah, that one's dead. I can stick my whole nose in there.
We got to get more. That one's good, though.
Yeah, that one's dead. Yeah, these are
The
good.
nose bleach is good.
Yeah, the cool thing is these things last for a while, but when they die,
Worthless.
they're dead.
Yeah.
There you go, Ben. Take it to the head.
Ooh, drown it out.
Anyways, I think in our old podcast, we had an episode talking about the iron sharpens iron topic. But, you know, with more experience and just how things have progressed, I think this topic hits home a little bit harder, you know, than it was when we were sitting in the first Forge 1.0 in the balcony.
When it was just you and me.
Yeah,
It just-
you know, now that we have a team.
Yeah, and that kind of elaborates now, and we're seeing that and how it matters more. Like, because now it's not just you and I, but now there's a community and other staffers and who we're surrounding ourselves with, how much of a difference that makes.
Yeah, and you know, it's a very meathead terminology, you know. Iron sharpens iron.
I don't know. It's bringing a tear to my eye right now.
Hey, no, that's the salts, baby.
That would definitely be the
Yeah. But in reality, I think you know, it's a very important motto to just have in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people in this world just kind of cruise and they don't ever really sharpen themselves to their full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not their fault, because sometimes, and most of the times, it takes more than just yourself to reach your full potential.
Yeah, I don't think you really can by yourself.
I
In the long term, no.
I don't think so.
No.
You know, like, there's got to be some external force,
Mhm.
you know, and push to help you and pick you up when you're down,
Yeah.
or push you forward past things that you don't believe you can truly hit. And, you know, I see it daily within the gym, and just the open gym members and their gym partners
Mm-hmm.
pushing themselves. But I think what really hits home, especially to Mike and I, is kind of like how that applied so heavy into opening Forge 4.0.
Yeah. Yeah, as we discussed in the earlier podcasts, Chancellor and I had this vision a long time ago, back
Yeah.
in 2018. And I don't think, and we wouldn't have, if we had done this as a solo project, we wouldn't have had that same motivation and drive and accountability to each other to
100%.
really make this come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, we had weekly phone calls where, you know, if we didn't write something in our Google Doc, you almost felt guilty about it. Like, I didn't give this even enough effort to put a bullet point down of something about the business that I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So in the back of my mind, it was always like, even if it was last minute, right before I knew Mike was going to call me, I was like writing down a few things, like, oh yeah, dude, I totally thought about
Been
it.
thinking about this all week.
But the thing is, I put the effort in there.
Yeah.
And so often, you know, just effort is all it needs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just even if it's a minimal amount of effort, it keeps that vision that could be a fire someday, it keeps the coals stoked.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps them hot. And just having that accountability of Mike, and I'm sure he did the same thing too. He got busy and didn't think about, you know, our weekly phone call, maybe till last minute or whatever. But just that push of like, I don't want to let Mike down because I know that he's grinding
Mm-hmm.
or Mike, I don't want to let Chancellor down because I know he's busy and he's grinding.
Well, it even affected our decisions and what we were doing before this all happened, right?
Yeah.
I tried to find a job with somebody and a mentor that would give me insight and ideas about how we wanted to do it. You worked at Prime, working in a physio performance center,
exactly,
trying to pick up skill sets and like learn from people that are doing it. So even when Chance and I were trying to figure out things to do in the meantime until this business came to be, we were talking and discussing and trying to set up opportunities to prepare ourselves for this. And even like we talked about in the other episode, starting to buy equipment, right? Like things started becoming real because we were making choices that were pushing us in that direction. And I think so often, and I think all of us do, have like dreams and ideas that we want to pursue, but we let life get in the way, or other people.
Or we kind of look at it as like a chapter book, right? Like I will start this when this chapter of my life is done, right? Like I'll start working towards this when I finish that. But like, I think what Mike is saying, like buying our first piece of equipment, right? Just a minimal thing, but it's still making that story a continuous story and not a chapter. So you're not waiting on a deadline. You're not waiting to start something.
Yeah. And I think even for me, this was always something I wanted to do, but the steps we were taking prior didn't have the risk yet, right? So I'm working at a good job. I'm learning from people. I'm working in another business, learning about business. But until this all came to be, when Chancellor finally decided, because of COVID, to have a little gym set up.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh shit, it's real. And then now the risk, it comes into it, right? This is on us now. This isn't working for somebody else, under somebody else's responsibility or dime.
Yeah. I'm no father, but I still feel like I have a child here.
Forge is our baby. Yeah.
Like seriously.
And and it feels like, and we've talked about before, like it is a relationship and a partnership in Forge. Like we have to agree, push each other, and make decisions based on, as two co-owners, 50-50 about how this goes. And we've had to learn to battle that. And I think the thing that works with Chancellor and I is like there's so much respect and understanding, and we both have such a similar goal and vision in terms of what we want it to ultimately be, but how we're getting there is we're pushing and battling each other along the way. It's not always just smooth sailing, right?
No, 100%. And if you know Mike and I as two individuals, like I'm sure every one of our employees does, we are two complete opposites.
Yeah.
Mike
different.
and I are just like literally yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think if I didn't consider him the iron that's sharpening me, like I may talk smack and we might butt heads, and I got a little short fuse sometimes that just I kind of blow up a little bit, and then I realize that Michael's usually right. But if I didn't have that respect for him, I wouldn't think that he was in it because he wants me to win and he wants us to win. Mm-hmm. And the same goes as when I'm sure there's been a few times where I've called you out on something and you've been like, at first kind of like, screw this guy, dude. Like, he's just so nitpicky. But then you realize, like, no. It's coming from a place of you almost expect more from that. Like, I honestly, truly believe that, and I'll get into this later too, but when I look at Mike, it's like I have absolute faith that he'll do his job and do it well, and he will succeed, almost more than I have in myself, which is like weird, right? Like I know if I give Mike a task, he's going to do it well. He's going to do it to my standard, and I think it seems to be said the vice versa.
No, absolutely. And I think what also spurs me on is, and I see and know how much you care and how much of like passion you put into it. And I think that's, in our difference in dynamic, maybe sometimes more on the practical, and maybe I'm trying to figure out ways to save money or make it efficient from a business side. But Chancellor always has that little extra, where it's like big or go home. Every little detail matters. Yeah. And even in terms of the equipment, right? Yeah. Like we're not skimping on it. We're going to go all in on it. And, the first time we like made a plan to buy equipment for this gym on the ironwork side, double like the cost. Just like made a wish list.
I made a wish list that was like what, 250 or 300,000.
No, it was like 4 almost. Whoa, that's a little.
I was
more.
like, but dude, we need it. Come on.
Yeah, we pretty much just like filled up the whole shopping cart with everything they had. And I was like, all right, I'll meet you in the middle.
But Chancellor, do you really need like a wrist extension machine? Yeah, dude, come on. Like, forearm? Can't mimic that with a dumbbell at all, dude.
But rather than, trying to do the safe or the practical thing, it's pushing into that uncomfortable, which Chancellor does for me in lifting and the business model in terms of how big we want to go with this. And I've always respected and trusted Chancellor that, we'll find a common ground where, okay, this is going to push to where it's uncomfortable, but you and I will do the work or whatever it takes to pull that off.
Yeah, Michael's pretty much the one that's like, yeah, we'll sail into the storm, Chancellor, but we're going to calculate this a little bit. We're going to play it smart because if we let you take the wheel, this thing's going to sink.
Yeah.
It might look freaking cool, and we'll go down in a blaze of fury.
But no, it's really good, and I think it's really for us and our business like a perfect balance of that, and we can hold each other accountable.
And I think that's like, how many people have told you, like, how do you go into business with one of your best friends? I don't think I'm stepping over any lines to say I'm one of your best friends, but I've had so many people like, how do you guys do that?
Yeah.
Like everyone I've ever known that go into business end up hating each other.
Yeah, we've heard that from entrepreneurs or even friends and family. It's like, are you sure you want to go into business? It could ruin your friendship. And I definitely, and I think you would agree, it strengthened our friendship 100%. And our trust in each other. And what was to our benefit is it was somebody that, again, like challenged and pushed me. It's like somebody I respected. It wasn't just that we got along well, wanted to play video games and hang out and have the same stupid humor, but it was somebody that I truly did like look up to and was somebody that does push me to be better in so many different ways, and I respect their opinion. And I also think the dynamic with our differences was important. And if you are going to go into business with somebody that is a friend, you don't want a carbon copy of yourself. And you want somebody that balances you out or has a different skill set or has a different perspective, which Chance and I just fortunately were. Like, we do have different ends and different spectrums of opinions, but again, they kind of put each other in check and create like an equilibrium where it's like, okay, this is the smart path now.
This
is
the wise. You can always find a common ground, right?
And I think we get along well enough to be honest and discuss those things. It doesn't like, because we put the business and our friendship like above, our own selfish needs, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think we've alluded to this before, but also too having somebody where I don't want to let him down. I don't want Chancellor to know that I'm kind of half-assing it while he's grinding it. Yeah. Like even when I started, right? Like I didn't have clients, but it's
he
like
still got up at 4 a.m. with me.
Yeah.
What are you doing, dude? Like
I'm not going to sit at home.
Just there half asleep on his computer, like watching us, like trying to make conversation. I'm like, dude, you could have just slept, but he wouldn't, which is cool. And I think honestly, if you are going into business with someone, that relationship, that they're your iron, that sharpens your iron, is going to make the difference. Because here's the thing, like there's a difference between a friend and a friend like I have in a relationship with Michael, right? Is friend is going to just hang out with you and do whatever, but Michael's and I relationship is like really a competition, right? Like he wants to push me harder, I want to push him harder. It was evident when we were long distance training partners. Mm-hmm. But evidence our whole life. I mean, when we played football together in high school, it was like the Mike and Chancellor, like who had more tackles, who was doing this. Like there's so many, like what was that one film where we were doing the exact same steps?
Yeah, we both like cut in, tried to get the quarterback.
Couldn't beat each other to the quarterback. Both did the same step, turn around, chase the guy down, tackled the same guy at the same time. But it's like, in my mind, I'm pretty sure in that play it was like, I'm not letting Michael get that. I'm better. And he's probably the same. I'm not letting Chancellor get that. I'm going to be better. I got to push him. But I think that's the only reason why this friendship and business has worked, is because a long time ago, even before this business started, we had already developed the iron sharpens iron mindset. And maybe we weren't aware of it then.
Yeah. And as we talked about earlier, I think we're becoming more aware of it as this has grown and as this is getting bigger and more challenges, more difficulties. But that trust in each other, that respect for each other has grown with that. And then we've gone through it together, right? So it's like we've kind of proven it, like together, like, okay, I can trust you. We did this. And when shit hits the fan, I know Chancellor doesn't drop the ball.
No.
And the same for me, right?
Same
like,
thing for Mike. And the best thing with Mike is, and I'm sure I've said it a million times, but he knows how to deal with my communication, because I'm very brutal and honest, and sometimes I can be kind of a dick and I can be kind of judgmental, and sometimes I blow up and he doesn't take it like a blow to the ego. He takes it and somehow spins it around to make me feel stupider, which, that's probably the best way to like extinguish the flame, the ball of fury that I am sometimes, but in a way that I can respect, because it doesn't feel like an attack. It doesn't feel like he's backing me against the corner. And I'm sure it's the same way. And for me, it's the same way when you come at me. And those things happen. Like in our business realm, there's been multiple times where it's not just smooth sailing, where we got to really be like, hey man, wake up. Like, you're slacking off a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of those conversations, that's what grew this a little bit even more.
Yeah.
I think a cool thing would be to hear from Ben as bosses, like, what would you explain the differences between Mike and I?
I'd say Mike is far more hands-on usually when it comes to the smaller details of things. Chancellor tends to get more invested in certain things rather than the whole picture of things.
Yeah.
So it's almost the opposites in that regard. Chancellor will put every effort he can in the current project, not necessarily ignoring projects, but a very hyper focus on one, while Mike has everything out on the table and he's thinking about everything at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think it's because of what you're passionate, right? And that's what you're good at, is like you'll dial in, and I'll look at it from the big business. It's more of a business perspective of like how will this all kind of mesh together. And those are the like little details in terms of like budget and resources and staff for that. So I'll kind of try to put those together. But then Chancellor has the ideas of like what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And what could like change in the business to grow that area.
And how do I get to that spot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's more of like, I'd say, and I've heard these terms before, but there's in business, and the ones that really succeed, there's usually a typical model where there's one person that's the visionary, which would be Chancellor, and then there's the integrator. So that's kind of what Ben's saying. It's like the vision in terms of new, exciting additions or ideas, and then the integrator is like, how do we get there? But what's cool about that for us is like Chancellor has the bigger visions in terms of like more like extreme ideas, right?
Oh yeah. And
hard, like ways to really, really take this to the next level, where if I get, and I can, like too much into the details, it's a stalling match. It's just like we're not moving forward because I'm trying to look at the little details too much. Yeah. So that's again how we balance each other out is we'll kind of discuss, and we have now like a weekly business meeting where we talk about these things.
Yep.
And then we put together an idea, and Chancellor has all these different ideas, and then I'll try to figure out steps to make those a reality.
Yep.
So,
and like, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty and do the work. Like that's just where I've always been. It's like, if I have a goal, I'm going to make it happen. And everything else, like until I reach that goal, I'm not focused on anything else. So I think that's kind of what you see.
Very much on that level of thought process.
Yeah. But, like in terms of other people, as we kind of expanded our little Forge family, we realized that in a business, you want that from every employee, right? And they have to be willing to accept the standards and realize that you are the iron that's trying to sharpen them. Because we've been through a few people that just couldn't make the cut, and it's hard because it's like, as a friend, I want to accept them, be cool, but like we have standards, and you're not meeting the standards. So
well, and I think what I've seen, especially with the additions of Ben, Reagan, Mason, and now Grant, what I think is cool about all of them is they challenge us in different ways, right? Like 100%. Mason recently has surpassed me on the board, right? Which makes me want to go lift heavy again.
Yeah.
And I think Mason too, like how much work and time and like, Chancellor and I have been doing this for a while and we get burnt out, but Mason has this youthful energy that he keeps on.
Dude, I miss that, dude. If you could sell that in a pill form, we'd be millionaires.
And we're all tired asses that are like burnt out. But Mason brings this energy and vibe, and he does with his clients too. And, that makes hold me accountable. Like, hey, don't be burnt out. Like, bring up the energy, bring up the passion that Mason has. And so that carries over into lifting and his passion for that, and with his clients, and just his willingness to keep grinding, keep pushing. I mean, he comes in here 6 days a week, trains people, like, so that helps motivate me, and Chancellor, I'm sure, as well.
100%.
And then Reagan as well. She's like so smart, right? It's like intimidatingly smart. She said, like, when she first learned to speak, she spoke in sentences. Like, it wasn't even a word. Yeah. Is that what she told you today, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell?
She got stuck in a tree and said, "Mother, will you get me down?" It's like,
no words before that.
Yeah.
But and then just her attention and her understanding of physical therapy, it's and she's a new grad, but so intelligent. It makes me want to be like, hey, I got to double down, make sure I'm, keeping in my studies and understanding of physical therapy. So if she has a question, right, I'm just not like a blank slate. Like, I don't know.
And Mason and Grant do the same thing for me as a coach, right? Like, there's things I've taught Mason where he's taken and run with them and developed his own way of explaining them. So it's like the other day I'm watching him teach a deadlift, and he's explaining the same cue that I've taught him since he was young in a different way that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And my issue and some struggles with every coach is it takes a million different ways to say the same thing for somebody to click with it. Mm-hmm. And Mason's found a way to make the cue that made sense in my mind make sense to people who don't understand my mind or his mind. Mm-hmm. Right? So that kind of stuff inspires me to do better. Mm-hmm. So, and, one thing with Mason, and as we're on the topic of him, I think he has also really gotten the iron sharpens iron thing down pat. That guy is a callous. He
takes a lot of abuse.
He takes so much shit.
Yeah.
And, he could always probably in the back of his head think I'm just being a dick most of the time. Because if you ever train with us or see us, I am the first one to call Mason out when his form breaks, if he's half-assing it, if I think he's got more. And I come off very brutally honest and just like, I'm sure everybody in the room's like, whoa. And sometimes he takes it well, sometimes he just shuts up and puts his head down. But I think just because he's got that respect that I truly do believe that Mason will be stronger than me, Mike, will be stronger than anybody at Forge one day, and he has the potential to get there. And I think he knows deep down I believe that. Mm-hmm. And that's why I have to make sure that I'm hard on him when he's slacking off. I'm hard on him when he's, not reaching his potential. Mm-hmm. And he takes it very well. So it's crazy that we bring in this young kid that already has the mindset of iron sharpens iron. Right? He's not going to be like, wow, Chancellor's just such a dick, mm-hmm. Which easily could be misinterpreted. But
yeah, and I think when we were discussing this topic, we also want to just discuss how that applies to like this culture in this gym, right?
100%.
And what we're trying to do, and I think you guys as the community have established, is like a higher standard. And when you go into this kind of gym and this kind of environment, and I've heard it from multiple people, you feel that energy and that desire to push yourself. And we were talking about the last episode, like really actually like showing up to get better. Yeah. And you can sense that here. And I think you guys are also doing that with, the other gym members. They'll see people like Mitch and people just lifting some heavy weight. And I'm hearing it left and right that people are like getting PRs just because they started coming here, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in, let's say another community or another gym where people aren't doing that, like that makes it you the oddball out that's trying to like lift heavy and deadlift and do those things. And
it sets the threshold very low, mm-hmm. like you could kind of just half-fast it mm-hmm. and no one's going to bat an eye versus when you're here and you're not really pushing it or working on technique or being dialed in, you're just kind of hanging out. You're kind of the oddball right around here. Mm-hmm. We have a big facility and it fills up fast. So if you're just kind of bullshitting on a piece of equipment that someone else really wants to get after and use, most people are going to be like looking at you like, dude, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
But I do really think our community does that very well, is they hold this. I had a guy approach me and it's like, dude, just being in here makes me want to put numbers on a board. I've never tried to max out before, but I want to, which that's kind of a cool thing, right? Because they want to see progression and they want to have goals and break them, because just being in here with a board full of PRs, being in here with people that are pushing it, is making them want to progress themselves. And that's a rare thing to have. It's like the whole saying about surround yourself with people that have the same mentality. It's, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. If you walk with the lame, you develop a limp, kind of thing. Well, in here, if everybody's killing it and you are the only one not killing it, how do you look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day? Which, I look around the room, I don't see anybody that's really not killing it in the gym when they're there.
I see a bunch of people all the time, and they're always coming up to me with new PRs that you guys are, looking at, and it seems like it's fairly constant.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, at least once a week, somebody's bringing me a brand new PR.
Yeah.
Put on the board.
Yeah.
I think for those listening, I think we want to talk about, and we've discussed what to look for in people that, and just be aware of like who you're surrounding yourself with and what characteristics. I think Chancellor and I were fortunate enough to find that earlier in our friendship and as like business partners. But, what is something that you guys think we should be looking for? And, if we're talking about surrounding yourself with the right people, like what should those people, like what characteristics should they have?
Yeah. So for me, it's just like, are they clapping for you in public? Right? Are they wanting you to win? And are they doing that also in private? Like, they're plotting your demise when nobody's looking, right? They're kind of happy that you failed that PR. Or are they like, kind of like, dude, we got to figure out how to get you up. So they always want you to succeed, and they have that belief that you can, even when in the days that you feel empty and that you can't, right? It's like, you fill my cup when it's half full and I'll fill yours, right? And it's like, that relationship can be applied to your relationship at home with your significant other, right? It's like, on the days that you feel empty, are they going to pour their cup out to match your energy, or are they going to fill you up?
Yeah, I think sometimes you need somebody like that believes in you maybe at the time, or, when you're going through a spot, like more than you believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I know from the rehab side, that's always, a goal of mine is I want them to succeed and exceed what they expect. Like, especially after an injury, right? There's a lot of fear, worry, or concern that like, I'll never get back to it, or this is going to be a constant thing. But if you can get them in a place where, they're stronger than they were before the injury, and
huge.
and realizing that they have more potential than maybe they thought they had. So we're trying to offer that to people, is like, we believe in you and we know you can improve and get farther and better and exceed your own expectations.
Actually, we see a lot of our PT clients come through, and then they continue to stay even after they graduate.
Yeah, they hop in with a trainer, or they get an open gym session.
Yeah.
And I think deep down, everybody, I mean, that's the reason you hire a coach and you hire a physical therapist, not just for the service, but because that person is going to believe in you. Because if you're following their plan, like, then they must have confidence that plan's going to work. And if you're doing the work, they believe in you.
Yeah, because it's not like you haven't fired clients before.
Oh yeah, 100%, right? Because they just haven't believed in the plan, or not put in any effort, or like, at the end of the day, as a coach, if somebody shows up, they're not giving me 100% effort, and they're not going through my plan, and they're hit or miss and how much they show up, then how am I supposed to have any confidence in them? How am I supposed to sharpen their iron when they're not even giving me any iron to sharpen? So yeah, I mean, that's the main reason why people hire physical therapists and personal trainers, is because at the end of the day, we believe in you guys. Like, we might believe in our plan, but our plan is only as effective as how much effort you're willing to put into it. And that effort is hard. And that's why you have a coach, is because on the days that you feel empty and don't want to be here, we're here. And like Greg Plitt says, right? It's like it takes a sad son of a bitch to fail on somebody else's accord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when someone else is waiting on you, you're not going to do it. 9 times out of 10, you're going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you're thinking about looking for coaches, thinking about looking for physical therapists, I think one of the biggest things is make sure that they practice what they preach too, because iron sharpens iron regardless. But, you know, it depends on the type of iron too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're not gonna come to me to sharpen your, I don't know, your Olympic lifting skills,
Yeah.
right? Like this iron doesn't move like that.
Yeah.
You're not gonna go to Michael to get you into long distance running. That iron doesn't move like that. Like, look at the type of iron that's going to sharpen you. Does it align with your same goals? Yeah, then that's the iron you need.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just like nothing's going to happen, but you just break each other down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think too, like in the people you're surrounding yourself with, and this applies more globally just to the gym, but you know, being around people that have done things that you respect or want to do, or have been down that road, which is kind of just elaborating on what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking about this earlier, but I think what we tend to do is we just get comfortable and we surround ourselves with people out of convenience, right? Like their work friends or their neighbors or their old high school butters or friends or something.
Yeah.
But I think as time's gone on, and maybe I'm just getting crotchety and old, like I'm just trying to surround myself with people that have done things that I respect, have done things that I want to do, or have traits that I admire that I want to develop in myself, right?
Yeah.
And so that does apply to your coach. That does apply to your physical therapist. Like, are they doing these things? Are they exuding and be an example for these standards that they're trying to hold you to, or to try to get you up to?
It reminds me of a story of old Jeff Vollmer, Peak Pest Solutions. You know, when Mike and I first started training, I was training him, and we were in the Fat Michael and Fat Chancellor phase.
One of them. There's multiple.
Yeah, there was a couple of them, unfortunately. But I got him bulked up pretty good. I mean, he was looking juicy, dude. He was looking good. But he wanted to trim down to run. So I'm giving him some tips on how to cut down, and he looks at me up and down, and then looks over at Michael, and he's like, "No offense, guys, but it's like that's like taking advice on how to have a good smile from a dentist with bad teeth."
That hurt a little bit.
And I was like, just because I've got bad teeth doesn't mean I don't know how or why they went bad, Jeff. I know what it takes to have good teeth or what it takes to be trim. But he had a point there, right? Like, if they're not practicing what you want, it's like, how are you going to take it? And just like Michael's saying, you surround yourself with people that have done things or do things or live their life in a certain way that you also value.
Mm-hmm.
But had to throw out old Jeff's story. Cannot believe you called me a dentist with bad teeth, dude.
And then sure enough, not too long after, we both gone on cuts.
Yeah. We felt pretty bad about ourselves.
We're like, maybe we should cut down a little bit. Yeah.
Example of iron sharpening iron.
Yeah, right there, right?
Oh, and then Jeff is a guy we respect. And he's a business owner, and he calls it out black and white. Yeah. Yeah, and I think just as time has gone on, I encourage people to be aware of that, and finding those kind of people it's honestly rare too.
It is.
It's a rare individual that actually is honest with you, for one, that cares, that wants you to do better, and isn't just gonna. And I don't even know if I would call it a true friendship if they just completely accept who you are, because we all have areas and parts of our lives that we could get better at.
Yep.
And the friends that I have now, and with like the Forge crew and obviously Chancellor, they don't let me fall past like that standard or that potential that I have. And I think prior and earlier in my life, you know, we're trying to, and we develop friendships with people that maybe aren't like that.
Yeah.
And I think as time's gone on, like my core group of people that I actually surround myself with has gotten smaller. because my standard of who I want to surround myself with has become higher.
But I also think that's a testament to change. And when I say change, I mean growth. Because I've said it a million times, but I truly believe that, the saying that you can't change me is the biggest crock of shit in the world. Because if you don't change, you never grow. And I think this whole world is based upon growth. If that's your fitness career, if that's your relationship, what do you do in a relationship? You're growing a family, you're growing a relationship, you're growing a life together. Or if that's in financially, if you never changed who you are, would you ever get any richer? Would you ever, get any wealthier? Would you ever hit your goals? No, you grow. Change and growth. Like, if you're not changing, you're not growing. You're just stagnating. So I think you surround the people that want you to grow. And at first it might sound scary, or it might sound like that's not who you are, but you've got to realize that these lows where you're thinking like, oh yeah, maybe I should change this, maybe I should grow out of this, or that in itself, where you have that insight, is growth. And that is a change, and that's a change for the better. Like, no one wants to change for the worse. So challenge, you look at your inner circle and look at the people. I'm not saying that they're bad people and you need to cut them out, but I promise you, if you're a person that likes growth and change and wants to progress forward in life, those relationships will slowly dwindle.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, and that's what I'm saying, it's a testament to why our circle has grown smaller and smaller. Because maybe the folks that we are around didn't align with our goals. Maybe the folks that we had in our circle, just accepted things how they are, but never really pushed us. And I'm a creature of growth, and I want to succeed, and I want to do better. It's almost a sickness, like I'm never really truly satisfied. I could bench 500 pounds, and the first thought when I stood up was I should have went for 505. What the hell? But it's like you always want to grow. So I think once you have the people kind of start dwindling away because they're just okay with their life and how it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are an individual like Mike and I and on the Forge crew, and probably every person here at Forge, you're going to notice that circle kind of falls off. And that's not a bad thing. I don't think you should be ashamed of it.
No.
It's just you changing, you growing.
Yeah, and then just realize they could be and are often the obstacle in your way, right?
Yeah.
Because they're going to it's hard because you have to fight that. It's a resistance to kind of change, right? And step away from that. And our tendency is to go to comfort. And if you're going to be around people that aren't aligned with what you want to ultimately do, and you continue to surround yourself with them, you're just resisting that, and you're going to get pulled in over and over again to doing things that aren't going to align with what you ultimately want.
Yeah. And I'm saying, like, I don't consider myself successful yet, but I do believe that success is a lonely road, right? It's going to be littered with people that have fallen short. They're on the ground that you have to step over, that have tried to get there but gave up along the way. And, you want to surround yourself with the people that are going to travel that road. And when you want to drop to your knees, they're picking you up and slapping you on the ass and like, no, keep stepping.
Yeah.
Keep on stepping, brother.
And I do understand. I kind of feel an empathy for, it's hard to want to cut those people off. But what I kind of consider myself, if I allow myself to keep going down a road I don't want to, ultimately, like, I'm going to be an anchor and I'm going to weigh others down because I'm not succeeding. And I think the best thing you can do, and this is hard because I think some of these relationships are family, they're friends, like high school friends or people that you spent a lot of time with. I think a perspective to have is the best thing you can do for them even is work on yourself and better yourself.
Because maybe they'll get the hint.
And and I think sometimes, and this happens a lot, some of these people get envious or jealous, or, they may not initially approve, but if you succeed regardless, I think it does shine a light on where they need to work on too. Yeah. And I think it's for their betterment too. I think, what was that guy's name that does Lions Not Sheep?
Sean Whalen.
He talks about this lighthouse and I think in the tugboat.
One of the coolest metaphors ever.
Yeah, and I think what his analogy is you can be the lighthouse that kind of shines a light and gives people maybe something to look up to, or
right.
and
Like at the
be
end,
the example, right?
They both do the same job, right? A lighthouse versus a tugboat, right? Like, what is a tugboat's role? Is it's supposed to bring people to a destination, but a tugboat burns out, man. I mean, the average lifespan's like 2 to 5 years before they pull themselves apart, because they have to keep pulling people with them. A lighthouse, that thing lasts for years, dude.
Yeah.
It stands alone as a beacon. It does the same job. Here's the light, man. Come to me.
Yeah.
Versus a tugboat. Yeah, I'll pull you towards the light, but it's going to be hard, man.
They're going to weigh you down, right? And slow
Yeah.
you down and stop your progress. Whereas
Such
the
a cool
lighthouse,
metaphor.
yeah. So I think, as for those listening, it's encouraging you to take that reflection and realize maybe there are relationships that you need to start drifting away from.
Yeah.
And try to find the relationships or the people. And I think too, and it can be hard, we're hoping and trying to provide a community where you can find people like that. So we obviously encourage you to, be a part of the Forge crew.
Yeah.
But also too, it's like who you listen to, and you can find, the time you spend doesn't have to be always in person. You can read books, you can listen to podcasts, you can listen to people that are maybe more of that lighthouse example where they are doing and living out a life that you kind of look up to and have goals that align with yours.
Yeah. Or like even like you get together like in a men's group, like your Saturday thing.
Yeah.
And I popped in on that, and it's just like the perspective from other people that are successful, and just the way that they look at life is just like kind of eye-opening, right? Makes you think. But yeah, spending your free time, right? Like, just don't go home and do the old mental masturbation thing where it's like, I'll just veg out on TV and
yeah, listen to something or find something that's positive. And I think because it's like what you consume is the same thing as a diet, like mentally, right?
Yeah.
And if you
mental nutrition.
Yeah, if you're watching things that are just honestly garbage, or you're surrounding yourself with people that aren't doing things that are inspiring to you or pushing you, that will filter through your brain and the way that it's perspective and what you think you're capable of or what is possible. So the more that you give yourself a good diet of being around people that push you, listening and reading or whatever that might be to grow your mindset, that I think also encompasses like iron sharpening iron and what you're surrounding yourself with.
Yeah. And I think there's seasons in life too, as we age, as we progress, definitely in my life, where you kind of have on seasons, off seasons. On seasons being like the fire's lit and the coals are hot, and you are there to sharpen the people around you, and you are willing to be sharpened. But you're going to have off seasons where those coals aren't so hot. It's like, find somebody that can fill that off season and make it an on season for you. And that's exactly what your friends are there for. People to come to lift you up, push you to be better. And, it's like part of the thing with Ben, right? It's like, I've been friends with Ben since what, dude? Like
7th grade, middle
seventh
school?
grade? Yeah. And, I've been through all of his off seasons and on seasons. I've seen him kill it when he wasn't here. I've seen him be off and kind of low. And I mean, that's 80% of the reason why, other than, I guess, it'd be like 20% of the reason why. 80% because Ben's just a freaking killer.
Yeah.
Like, brain is just ridiculous. And just his perspective and his view, and the nicest guy in the world, and the perfect face that people come talk to every day. And he has the prettiest smile, and just those eyes are just dream. Anyways, but part of the reason why I wanted him here is because I knew I could better his life. Give him a little bit more out of it. And I hope that's what you take from it, because you guys should just see the amount of progress in the times Ben's been here with him just physically. Like, if you look at Ben right now, like, I was just thinking this today. He was walking by. I was like, dude, his shoulders are getting bigger. His back's getting bigger. He doesn't have so much of a gut anymore. He's cut his hair. He looks like an actual person now, not just a hobo on the street. But that's just because that's who he surrounded himself with, right? And Ben's like he'll be Mr. Independent, you know, and he'll be very like, I'm not going to do that. I won't jump on the bandwagon. But I think at the end of the day, he has respect for the people around here.
Sure. And I think early on in my career here at Forge, one of the things I said was, I know I'm kind of a Nepo hire in regards to, I'm your friend. You knew what I was capable of, but Mike didn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, I went to middle school, Mike knew me, but we never really hung out or talked. I moved away before then.
Yeah.
So it was always my goal to make sure that I wasn't taking advantage of the situation, being like, oh, I work for one of my best friends, so I can just do whatever I want.
No. And that's honestly, I see it every day in his work, right? He's like always doing something, even if it's like a task he knows I'd appreciate, like vacuuming the tracks, you know, like something that I would do if I had time because it's driving me nuts and I'm hyper focused on it. Ben's going to do it because he knows like he doesn't want to take advantage of the time. But at the same time, dude, Ben does so much here that is sharpening me. You know, like he's always, like there's stuff that he's working on that I own the place and I have him like, dude, what is that? He's like, oh, it's just this new class that we've been working on. I'm like, dude, that's a great idea. Like when did that come? That wasn't even brought into my attention yet. And he's like, oh yeah, me and Reagan were talking about it, or me and Grant were talking about it. But that makes me like, I'm looking at Michael like, dude, we got to do something. Like, we want to do a class or something. Like,
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff. And then obviously, just intellectually, Ben sharpens my mind all the time because as soon as I say the wrong word or make some dumb statement that's not accurate, he'll call me out on it. So,
well, actually.
But yeah, I mean, working out has changed, mentally has changed, and it's like, I don't know if in your other jobs you put this much effort. You might have had more direction in your other jobs of what you needed to do. But the thing with Ben is like, he might not have a certain task to do every day, but he finds something to do that's productive, which is a downfall of me. Because when I don't have something to do, I know dude, I'm going to take a nap, bro.
Yeah.
But then I know it's like, well, now I've got Ben over there working his ass off and I'm taking a nap.
Yeah.
So it's like, I better get on my game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to bring you onto the team. You know, unbeknownst to me, that it would be more beneficial for me too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, I think everybody does and has pushed Chancellor and I and each other in different ways, in different realms.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's a testament to the crew that we've developed here. Everybody's accountable to each other. Everybody pushes each other. Everyone has a high standard, so nobody's really slacking. Like everybody's grinding and pushing and developing. And
it's okay to disagree within your group too, is what I want to preach too. You know, like we're not saying you got to cut people off because they don't have the same agreements on what they want out of life. But at the same time, you need to look at these things for what they are, right? Like, what kind of life is that person living? What kind of life do they represent? If that's not in your vision, if that's not in what you want with your life, you don't have to cut them out, but you got to realize what choices they're making so you can avoid that. You know, that's true in like relationships. You know, that's true in everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that pretty much covers all of Iron Sharpens Iron.
That's a pretty good summation.
Yeah. You know, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. Like, I truly believe in every one of the Forge Fleet, Open Gym members, just everyone that is in this community, because you guys push us to be better, to be the best gym around, to be the next big thing, like to do these podcasts. If we didn't think anybody was going to listen, or even one of you were, we wouldn't do them. But because you guys have that belief that we are going to do something great, we have this expectation that we need to live up to, even if it's just one of you. And it's so hard and rare to find that in a community. And just like how blessed we are to have that from multiple people and just a family here at Forge, the Forge fam. So, at the end of the day, unless you have something else to say,
Oh, that rhymed. That's pretty smooth.
might be a poet if I may. Build yourself, conquer adversity, repeat daily. Do these things and you will lead a successful life. Punch the mic.